On this episode of Search for History, we're out at the Ebey's Landing National Historical Reserve.
There's a lot of really cool things to check out here, including several blockhouses, the historic town of Coupeville, Fort Casey, and the Ebey House.
Yeah, there's lots of cool things to see around here. Come along and let's check it out. We're on our way to Whidbey Island. Mm-hmm. It's quite windy out here.
It's really windy.
Any thoughts?
It's a nice ferry ride over here.
For being like 80, I'm glad it's not colder out.
Yeah, it's always a little bit chillier on the water. Fort Casey looks like it's going to be really interesting. It's another one of those forts in a triangle of fire.
And one thing I really want to check out while we're here is 2 disappearing guns. They're actually in position. That would be really cool to see. We're also going to look at a lighthouse called Admiralty Head Lighthouse. When Fort Casey was built, it was among the most advanced military installations in the nation. So this photo here shows the layout of the fort and where the various artillery batteries were located.
By the 1920s, advances in naval technology and the rise of air power had eroded the effectiveness of coastal forts like Fort Casey. Large guns mounted in open concrete batteries were vulnerable to these new weapons. So ultimately, some forts were abandoned. Others, like Fort Casey, were kept for training. Most of the guns here were scrapped. And after World War II, the Admiralty Inlet forts were decommissioned.
This information panel is describing the Triangle of Fire, where you had 3 forts that together would protect this inlet, Admiralty Inlet. So if an enemy ship came down this inlet, it could be fired at from 3 different forts. So the Triangle of Fire consisted of Fort Worden at Port Townsend. You had Fort Flagler and then Fort Casey where we're standing. The forts protected the U.S. Naval Shipyard at Bremerton and the cities of Puget Sound. Soldiers manned Fort Casey's 35 mounted guns to block warships from passing through Admiralty Inlet, the primary approach to the Sound. The Army's Coast Artillery soldiers were stationed at the fort from 1899 until 1945. What's up there?
Up there is one of those disappearing guns.
Wow. That's cool, you can actually climb up on that.
Mm-hmm. The two massive guns sitting atop Battery Worth were among the last of their kind in the world. These two guns survived in the Philippine Islands at Fort Wint, which was an American base near Manila. And that base was abandoned during World War II as Japan invaded the islands. In 1968, the guns were relocated to Fort Casey, which had become a state park in 1956.
Wow. This is pretty impressive.
It's great up here.
Well, what do you think about this disappearing gun?
This is awesome.
Yeah, it's really neat that this is still here.
Yeah, I'm glad that they have such a fine example of this disappearing gun, complete with the carriage here. Because typically you just see where the gun would have been.
Yeah, just the concrete.
So it's cool.
And then you can really see that it would be loaded when it was lowered, because there's just no way anyone could stand here and put a shell in the breech, or in the breech. I mean, in theory, I think this could still be lowered. I don't see a motor anymore. That's the only thing that's missing.
Yeah, I don't know.
But all the gears and cables and everything are still there. Wow, that is really cool that this disappearing gun is still here. We've been at other forts and they talk about them, but they don't have any anymore. They're all, they're long gone. So, Battery William Worth. Okay, so this one is in the lowered position, ready to be loaded. Okay, Aaron, climb in and we'll fire you.
No. I won't fit. I'm too fat.
There's something in there.
I imagine there's something in there so nobody goes in there.
No, it's like you can see through, but there's something in there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's a wheel on this one. Look at the pock marks in that. I think this thing took some fire.
Well, they said these two guns came out of the Philippines.
Yeah. It's a chalkboard, I guess, where they would calculate firing range. So I'm speculating that that structure there would have been where the fire for this battery was orchestrated. I think there was an elevator that would come up from the magazine and it would lift a shell, so the actual projectile shell with the powder, and then it would roll down and hit these stops and then load it onto a carriage that was then rolled over to the gun to be loaded. So this is Battery James Moore. Wow, I don't really like the fact there's like, it's just open at the bottom. Wow. Pretty impressive. Any thoughts?
It's pretty cool out here. I like it.
Have you ever been to Fort Casey?
I've been to Fort Casey when I was a kid. We did like a 5th grade trip to Camp Casey.
Okay.
But it's been a long time.
So I don't know if I can zoom in, but across Admiralty Inlet over there is Port Townsend, and then kind of the big hill with the bluff on the right is Fort Worden, and then here on the left, that island, I think it's called Marrowstone Island. That's where the other fort in the Triangle of Fire was located. Then that's the Olympic mountain range in the far background. I'm really proud of you. Normally, I would think your fear of heights would have kept you from doing something like that.
It's making me want to walk very quickly across this iron walkway here that's rattling a lot. Back on solid concrete here.
Yeah. The Admiralty Head Lighthouse. After buying 10 acres of land from Dr. Kellogg in 1858, the Lighthouse Service completes construction of Red Bluff Lighthouse and lights the lamp for the first time. 1858. Fort Casey, the U.S. Army purchases land in 1897. 1903, construction of the Admiralty Head Lighthouse is completed. The Admiralty Head Lighthouse is closed after being deemed obsolete in 1922. In 1927, the Lantern House and lands are removed and installed at Dungeness Spit Lighthouse.
I'd live in that one. I haven't even been in it yet. Look, the lighthouse is open. Let's go in.
So see, it was restored after it was acquired in 1955. Right, so the top of the lighthouse was replaced in the 1960s. The Lantern House.
Archie Nichols suggested the project would be a great experience for the metal shop classes of the island's 3 high schools. Oh, we have to climb a ladder. Okay. Okay.
You can do it. Let's go warm up here. The lamp is long gone.
I feel like I shouldn't have read that this was restored by high school students right before I walked up it.
I'm sure they had supervision.
They had extensive guidance, but you know.
Wow, the view is spectacular.
Yeah, come to Fort Casey, climb the lighthouse tower.
All right, you ready to go back down?
Yeah, but you have to go first. Are you down that part?
Yep, I'm down to the next level.
Okay.
We made it.
Well, you did.
I was gonna say, he
That's true. I spoke too soon.
is. Pray for me, man.
Yeah, so in 1903, Admiralty Head Lighthouse replaced the aging Red Bluff Lighthouse. Check out the lighthouse keeper uniform.
You can give me the fort tour after you've done it.
I think I'm on to do a fort tour tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Lighthouse tour.
Oh, lighthouse tour. Oh,
Okay, so here's all the lighthouses
That's it.
from British Columbia down into Puget Sound
Just a minute. I'll be right back. Just a minute.
How are you, sir?
and out on the coast.
Just thinking about you earlier today. Hope things are going well.
We're at the Crockett Blockhouse, and it was built in 1855. And this might be the tiniest blockhouse that we've ever been to.
We haven't been to a lot of blockhouses, but I agree this is a pretty tiny one. 1855 would place it at the beginning of the Puget Sound War.
Nope. No, it's sealed shut.
The Crockett Blockhouse was restored in 1938. As you can see, it's two-story, and it looks to have two rifle loops on each side of the second story, and then there's also rifle loops down here on the first story. Has a new foundation. It's been put on a concrete foundation. What do you think? How much of this is original?
I don't think very much of it is.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I was hoping there'd be an information panel here to give us a little bit more idea of the history.
Yeah, I'd like to know why it's so tiny. So far, the Crockett Blockhouse is the cutest one.
Yeah, and comparing it to the only other blockhouse we have any experience with, the Borst Blockhouse in Centralia is quite a bit bigger than this one.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you at the next blockhouse. From 1855 to 1857, Indian unrest in the Puget Sound region spurred early would-be settlers to build first 4 blockhouses, followed by 3 more after the tragic murder of Isaac Ebey by the Southeast Alaskan Kake Indians. The murder of Isaac Ebey in 1857. The Indians shot and beheaded Ebey as retribution for the loss of 27 tribal members during relocation talks on the U.S. Navy steamer Massachusetts the previous year. Ebey's scalp was eventually recovered, but questions remain as to its final location. So today there's 4 blockhouses remaining. We actually have already seen the 1855 Crockett blockhouse, one of 2 stockaded blockhouses, and it's explaining that it's actually been moved just southwest of its original site. And then the other blockhouse went to a 1909 Yukon-Alaska Pacific Exposition. So as you'll see when we look at the Crockett blockhouse, the stockade no longer exists. The 1855 Alexander blockhouse was once located on the Alexander farm, but now it's located in Coupeville, right next to the Island County Historical Museum. Then there's the 1857 Ebey blockhouse, which is one of the 4 standing at the corner of a stockade enclosing the Jacob Ebey house. And so we're going to go take a look at that. It's not far from here. The 4th still existing blockhouse is the 1857 Davis blockhouse, which is right here next to this information panel. And it's standing on its original site right here in the cemetery. It says here that the Davis blockhouse has undergone quite a bit of restoration. This restoration took place in 2007, accomplished by the Island County Cemetery District Number 2 with local assistance from the Coupeville Lions Club.
This is the Davis blockhouse. And it says here this blockhouse was erected in 1855. It was restored in 1930 by the Ladies of the Round Table in honor of the pioneer mothers. And then on this side, it says this blockhouse was restored in 2007 by Island County Cemetery District Number 2 and the Coupeville Lions Club.
So it was 2-story. I'm assuming there must have been some amount of an upper floor that just doesn't exist anymore.
I think the decision to put windows down low was a 1930s decision.
Yeah, I don't think the original build of this would have had really any windows in it.
No.
Just the rifle loops.
Which you can like maybe see just the tiniest bits of up there.
Yeah.
On this side.
And actually, this is pretty cool to see. You couldn't see this at the Crockett blockhouse, but as you can see, that rifle loop up there, while the hole is quite small, it has a cone shape going into it, so you have the ability to move your rifle from left to right. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a neat feature. So you have a fireplace here, at least the bottom portion of it. So I assume originally there was a chimney that would have gone out the roof. So they're able to maybe do some cooking in here and keep warm. It's definitely a small space.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of space in here.
No, but there didn't need to be a lot of space in here because it wasn't really for living in.
Right, it's for surviving in. And I imagine maybe they slept on the second floor,
Yeah.
and then down here was for cooking and eating and those sorts of things.
Yeah. A blockhouse is not a place to live in.
Any last thoughts about the Davis Blockhouse?
Well, the Davis Blockhouse is a little bit bigger than the Crockett Blockhouse, and it seems more familiar and resembles the Borst Blockhouse.
Still smaller though.
Still smaller. I like the decision to put or have the windows on the lower level because it allows light in, so you can see inside the blockhouse quite a bit.
You know, a lot of these blockhouses, they were built for original purpose, but then later were used for other things.
Right.
So actually having the windows in there may have been a later addition.
Yeah. I liked, you could see inside it so much better. You could see the rifle loops a little bit better and see how they were used. And I also really thought it was sweet. The original restoration in the 1930s was done by the ladies of the Round Table. That seems like such a...
Yeah. If you know about the Ladies of the Round Table and what that organization was all about, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
We're out here in the Ebey's Landing National Reserve. This whole area from Coupeville to Fort Casey and up here at this Pioneer Cemetery, it's all in the National Reserve. But here we're at the Isaac Ebey gravestone. It says here, Isaac Ebey died August 11th, 1857 at age 39 years, 6 months, and 20 days.
Are there other Ebeys?
Yeah, you have a Sarah Ebey. I can't really tell. Might be daughter of Isaac.
And then who's on this side?
Rebecca, wife of Isaac, died, I don't know, 1853?
Does it say she was 30?
Yeah, age 30.
Bottom? Oh, she was young.
So their daughter died 1861, age 20, I don't know, 21 maybe?
Wow.
So this actually looks like it's a marble
Yeah.
gravestone, grave marker. So I can't make out the gravestone on the left, but here are more Ebeys. So you have the one that I can't read. You have Mary, you have Urban, George, Winfield, and then this last one here is dedicated to a few different people. Looks like Sarah, Elizabeth, and Jacob Ebey. Winfield and George were Freemasons. Not sure what that symbol means. I.O. Faith, Hope, Charity, and a G.T. If you know what that means, let us know in the comments. Then here above Mary, have a book. This one here that I can't read. Almira. So this is dedicated to all of them. Sarah Ebey died in 1859. Jacob Ebey, 1862. Elizabeth Ebey, 1862. Winfield Ebey, 1865. George Beam, 1866. Urban Bozarth, 1870. Mary Bozarth, 1879. And Almira Enos died in 1909. Sunnyside, donation land claim of Jacob Ebey, served in War of 1812, the Black Hawk War, and the Mexican War. When 61 years old, led company across plains with covered wagons, settled on Whidbey Island, and built this home, 4 blockhouses and stockade in 1856, given in honor of Colonel Ebey, his descendants, and early settlers. I really love the setting of the blockhouse and the Ebey house itself, you know, out in this large field with the Olympic mountain range in the background. Makes you wonder, you know, how unchanged is this landscape around the Ebey house. Well, it's closed, so we're gonna have to look in the windows.
Well, see if you can look in.
Then we'll go ponder the view. Wow. Well, right here behind me is the Ebey house. Unfortunately, our timing for these things seems to be quite bad, and it's closed. So we're gonna do some peeking in through the windows, and hopefully you can see what we see. So let's go do some peeking.
I can do that. I can't even see through the window.
So this room has a fireplace in it. Can you look through the window?
No, I can't get close enough. No, it's too short.
Let's try over here.
I need a ladder. It's the same problem.
What's happening here? We got another room. There's a little panel in there that talks about the upstairs at the Ebey house. Let's go around and look at the backside.
Okay.
Maybe you'll be tall enough to look at something there. Oh yeah, maybe. The back room. Actually, the inside looks quite a bit better maintained than the outside. You think they would put a whitewash on this building?
Maybe that's the plan.
Sorry we couldn't take you inside. However, if you are on Whidbey, come take a look. Hopefully you'll be more lucky than us. Well, let's go take a look at the blockhouse.
This is the Ebey blockhouse. It's one of 4 on this site. It was built in 1854. And it says here, Marcus Whitman chapter, 1954. So it must have been restored.
Probably was restored
Originally,
in
1954. There's a panel here by the Ebey's Landing National Historical Reserve. In the 1850s, settlers like Jacob and Sarah Ebey worried about conflict with local tribes, but it was fear of northern Indians from Alaska and British Columbia that led them to construct log blockhouses like this one as protection in case of attack. Built in 1856, the Ebey blockhouse is one of only 4 remaining in the reserve. It was reconstructed with the surviving original material in the 1930s. So some amount of the Ebey blockhouse is original, but it is a reconstruction.
It has been put on a stone foundation.
Trying to determine what was original from the 1850s. The reconstruction originally took place in the 1930s. That's still old. You know what I mean? So trying to determine what's older than that, it's hard for me.
Look, there's a window in that part of it, in the second story.
Up high.
What an incredible view to have from your house. Would this have been forested in the 1850s? Or all of this agricultural land, is this the product of stump removal? Or are we looking at just a large prairie here on this side of Whidbey Island? So right here next to the Ebey Blockhouse and the Ebey House are a couple information panels. The first one here is dedicated to who claims the land. It points out that after the last ice age receded 13,000 years ago, these lands here were populated by Native Americans. By the time European explorers discovered the Salish Sea in the late 1700s, the Lower Skagit people were well-established settlers thriving on the abundance provided by the land and sea. And then on this part of the panel, it talks about the Donation Land Claim Act. New settlers staked claims to the land beginning in 1850 with passage of the Donation Land Claim Act. The act promised free land in Oregon Territory to immigrants who could occupy and cultivate the land for 4 years. So then this really resulted in a large influx of Euro-Americans into Oregon Territory. The Native Americans living here were displaced and relocated to reservations shortly after the settlers were claiming these lands.
This panel talks a little bit more about the Ebeys, and it says Isaac Ebey was seeking prosperity and a new life when he left Missouri for the Oregon Territory in 1848. His journey ended when he found the best farmland he had ever seen, the rich open prairie you see before you.
So it was a prairie.
It was a prairie.
Yeah.
Under the 1850 Donation Land Claim Act, Isaac claimed 640 acres. That 640 acre claim was the first one under the act in this area. In letters home, he encouraged his family and friends to join him on the land, and he described it as almost a paradise of nature. Rebecca and their young sons, Eason and Ellison, joined Isaac in 1851, and they called their home, which is no longer standing, the Cabins. The location of this 1854 painting is uncertain, but it does offer an artist's interpretation of a coastal prairie landscape that would have been familiar to the Ebeys and other donation land claim settlers. Here is the Ebey house, and it describes in 1854, Isaac's parents, Jacob and Sarah, siblings Winfield, Mary, and Ruth, and other family members arrived. They called their homestead Sunnyside. Jacob and Sarah built the plank-framed home behind you in 1856.
Yes, so the home here, the Ebey house, actually belonged to his parents.
Yeah, it says here the Cabins, that's no longer standing.
Yeah, because Isaac came here first, leaving Missouri in 1848. And then he invited his family out here.
Yeah. Across the prairie here is the Ferry House. The Ferry House was completed in 1860s. It was built to support the family after Isaac died. And it also served as a tavern, hotel, and trading post, and as a post office for travelers arriving and departing from Ebey's Landing. The Ebey Blockhouse was built in 1857 for protection against Indians who were being impacted by encroaching settlement. Isaac was killed in 1857 in an attack at the Cabins. The attack was a random act of retaliation by the Cake Indians, avenging a massacre of 27 of their tribe near Port Gamble, Washington, by the U.S. Navy in 1856. In our Port Gamble video, we actually talk about that massacre, and you can watch it in the link above.
All right, we're at the Island County Historical Museum. So let's go inside and see what we can learn about Island County history.
Yeah, bob and lace making.
Okay, and so you move those bobs around to create the weave?
The weave. It's so complicated. Look how many bobbins there are. This is called a friendship quilt, and it contains hand-stitched signatures of many of the women and men of Central Whidbey Island.
What kind of press is that?
I can't remember what it's called now.
It's the Chandler and Price Company. That's who made it anyway. Mm-hmm. There's a two-masted schooner outside that we'll take a quick look at called the Suva. And These are the blueprints of the schooner, circa 1924. It looks like the Suva made quite a few journeys. It was owned by Frank Pratt, and it's saying here in 1924 did a trip to the Fiji Islands.
I've never seen this kind of piano before. It's a square grand piano.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really unusual.
So it's saying here the first industry on Whidbey and Camino Islands was logging, which makes sense. That's a .69 caliber percussion conversion flintlock musket and powder horn. I see. It originally had a flintlock mechanism here, but then it's been changed to a percussion cap. This is talking about donation land claims. We are right here in Coupeville. So in the 1890s and the early 1900s, basically all the towns along Puget Sound were connected by what is known as the mosquito fleet. Mostly little steamers that would take passengers from, port to port, from north to south of Puget Sound. And they have some examples here, the Callista, and then there's also the Fairhaven. Down below here, they actually have some of the schedules, Everett to Whidbey Island points, leaving times, arrivals. The museum has a Native American section, and right here next to me is a really impressive collection of Native American basketry. Wow, pretty impressive collection of lithics over here, Aaron. You got net stones, net weights, mauls, pestles, hammerstones.
Oh.
Look at all these projectile points.
Mm-hmm. The most common item of clothing was a woven blanket made from woolly dog hair from a small white dog's. This outfit was made for the museum by Pamela Sea Monster, who is Snohomish. Though the original outfits would have been made from dog fur, this one was made from modern wool. This is the Alexander Blockhouse. It was built in 1855, and it looks to me to be sort of similar in size to the Borst Blockhouse. Would you say that's the case, Roland?
Yeah, it's similar. Maybe a little smaller.
A little tiny bit smaller.
So this is a 2-story blockhouse. We can go inside, so let's check it out. Okay.
Yeah, it actually has the second story intact. So there's a floor above us, and they've built some stairs here. I think originally blockhouses just had, the small ones had ladders that you could pull up.
Whether stairs is original, I don't know. I mean, this definitely is not an original stairs.
No. But I think the feature of a blockhouse is that you could pull up your ladder so people couldn't get in your second story.
So once again, it has rifle loops on the second story, and you can see how the hole's quite small on the outside, but the inside is more cone-shaped, so you can move the rifle from left to right. They have the stairs blocked off, so we can't go to the second floor. Well, let's see if we can walk around the outside. Actually, this is one of those Catholic ladders like we saw at the Mission Church near Toledo, Washington.
Father Norbert Blanchet, a French-Canadian priest, visited Whidbey Island in 1840 to teach the native people about Catholic faith. Father Blanchet couldn't speak Lushootseed, so he created the historic ladder, or the Catholic ladder, which features pictures to explain how to reach heaven.
And unfortunately, this is all part of the forced assimilation of Native Americans into Euro-American culture. So we're looking at the Coupeville Wharf, which was built in 1905. At one time, the mosquito fleet would come in there to pick up passengers to ferry them to other destinations around Puget Sound. Some of the mosquito fleet vessels that would come in there included the Fairhaven, the Callista, the Camino, the Whidbey. It's pretty rare to see one of these city wharfs still existing, because there was one in front of just about every town on Puget Sound, and most of them are gone. So this is Coupeville. It's pretty cool. Unfortunately, that hum you're hearing is some construction going on. So, well, Aaron, let's walk out on the city wharf, and then we'll check out the different parts of downtown Coupeville. So that whole side of Main Street is built out over the tideland. And that's the schooner Suva out there at the end of the city dock. Mount Baker in the background. Look at that whale skeleton.
Hi.
So that building across the street was the Gillespie's livery in 1890. Now it's like a wine tasting place. Well, I think Kapaz Ice Cream is where you want to go.
Yep, I'm going in. Do you want anything?
Let's go check it out.
Ooh, here's all the flavors.
Where we got our ice cream, this building was built in 1890, and this plaque here says this is the original home of Seattle's best coffee. They had their first shop here in 1969. Is Seattle's best coffee any good, Aaron?
I always liked it.
Doesn't seem to have taken off like Starbucks.
No.
Don't really know the history of Coupeville, but when we get home, I'll see what I can find out and see when it was built and why there's a town right here.
This building, which is a little European market, used to be the post office.
Look, they have German stuff in there.
Yeah. It says a touch of Dutch. Swedish pancake mix.
So you get your Glühwein. Do they have any Spätzle? They have Rittersport.
They have some Stroop waffle and some Fika speculous spice.
Oh, Aaron, there's some muesli.
Is there some real muesli?
Yeah, apparently. Here's a lingonberry drink concentrate. Then here's different preserves. Gooseberry,
Here's some
blackcurrant,
kirsch,
sour kirsch.
sour kirsch.
Oh, look, some Thüringer Pflaumenmus. Oh, look, they do have Spätzle.
Yep, they do.
Prior to Euro-American settlement, Coupeville and Penn Cove, the bay where Coupeville is located, was home to the Lower Skagit people. The town itself was once the site of a Lower Skagit village. Coupeville is a historic district within the Ebey's Landing National Historical Reserve. It is one of Washington's oldest towns and the seat of Island County. Coupeville was laid out in the 1850s by Captain Thomas Coupe and settled by ship captains and farmers. You can see the Thomas Coupe donation land claim in this 1863 Cadastral Survey Plat. Activation of nearby Fort Casey in 1901 led to increased settlement of the area, growing the town's population. Coupeville was officially incorporated on April 20th, 1910. Well, Erin, what do you think about Coupeville?
It was really sweet, easy to walk around in. It's a small town.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool town, though. It kind of feels like an old west town, but on the water. It's actually right on Penn Cove.
A highlight of this town is the little historical museum.
Right, the Island County History Museum, which I really love the Native American collection they have in there.
Yeah, it's really, really fantastic.
So if you're ever on Whidbey Island, you have to stop in Coupeville. It's a highlight, and it's pretty cool. You don't really see towns like this anymore, definitely not here in Washington State. We're at Fort Ebey. This is a World War II fort, and it was built right here because it's right at the head of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. If you head out straight that way, eventually you get to the Pacific Ocean. This is more or less the entrance to Puget Sound. Let's take a look at Fort Ebey and see what we can find out. Well, an artillery piece would have been right here. Let's see what this panel has to say. This is battery 248. So what it's showing is an underground bunker area, and then these two guns here that make up battery 248. So somewhere just in front of us right there would have been the battery commander's station. I'll walk down there after we check out this underground area. No smoking. During World War II, the U.S. Army modernized its coastal defenses with a series of new batteries better equipped to protect against improved warfare technology. Battery 248, the primary battery at Fort Ebey, was completed in 1943. It guarded the western approach to Admiralty Inlet. Fort Ebey's lifespan as an active duty fort was less than a decade. As the war progressed, it became clear that enemy vessels were unlikely to threaten Puget Sound. There was never any need for the soldiers to fire on anything other than a practice target. Don't really know what I'm looking at, but I'm imagining somewhere down here is where the munitions would be stored. Maybe a communication center and quarters for the men. These doors are steel, So this could be where munitions were stored. I'm just speculating. Here's another entrance. Can't see in any of these rooms. Should have brought a flashlight. Then out here is the location of the second gun. I believe also somewhere around here would have been a radar station, but I'm not sure where that is located. So here I think is that observation bunker, the command bunker that the informational panel was talking about. I mean, this kind of gives you a low profile view of the approach. And then really, other than where the two guns would have been, it's battery 248's rather hidden up there. I wonder if that's by design. Yeah, so that was the battery commander's station. So looking here, you can see some of the first rooms is where they stored munitions. And actually where I was speculating with the steel doors, this painting is showing this is where soldiers would actually spend time. They're showing camouflage over the tops of the guns. So maybe the idea really was to have this whole battery obscured from airplanes. Battery 248 6-inch guns could fire 5 108-pound projectiles per minute to a maximum range of 15 miles. Camouflage netting was used to hide the guns from airplanes. The guns were scrapped in 1948. Fort Columbia at the mouth of the Columbia River actually has a battery that's almost identical to this battery, battery 248. What's interesting about Fort Columbia is it still has 2 of the guns in place. So luckily, since I've been there, I'll be able to show you guys what the guns look like so you can get a better idea of the guns that would have been here at battery 248. It's pretty amazing, this site just perched right out looking at the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the entrance to Admiralty Inlet, which is the entrance to Puget Sound. You can see why they put battery 248 in this location. If you're ever out on Whidbey Island, you should come take a look. There may be more fort infrastructure around here, but if so, I don't know where it's at. I haven't seen any officers' quarters or barracks. If those exist, why don't you let me know in the comments below? Well, that's our video on the Ebey's Landing National Historical Reserve. I hope you enjoyed it.
Don't forget to like, share, comment on this video, and please subscribe to Searching for History.
Thanks for watching.